Welcome to the OpenEMR project. This is the OpenEMR Easy Docker Development Environment series. This video will cover advanced OpenEMR coding with Visual Studio Code and Xdebug. The prerequisites for this tutorial are Video 1, Introduction, Setup, and First Pull Request. Video 5, Get Use and Tips. And Video 6, OpenEMR Coding with VS Code and Xdebug. It's very important that you go through these videos before going through this one. The assumptions of this tutorial are that your environment is in the home Git OpenEMR directory. This video is going to cover improvements in VS Code for support of PHP, how to find a fix or improvement to work on, and we'll describe in detail fixing of two different bugs, which will be entitled Example 1 and Example 2. Let's get started. First, we're going to show how to improve the Visual Studio Code support of PHP by installing the PHP Intelephense extension. So first, we're going to open up Visual Studio Code. We're going to go to the extension icon on the left there and type in PHP Intelephense. And you can see at the top there is the extension that we're looking for, 7.2 million downloads. We're going to click on it, and then we're going to click on the install button, which will quickly install. At this point, the extension has been enabled. We're going to quickly show some examples of how it improves using PHP in VS Code. Here we'll go into this login.php script, and we'll just hover over this function. As you can see, it gives specifics for this SQL statement function. And if we control double click on it, it'll actually take us to the function in the script where it is, which is this sql.inc.php script. And there's the function. Again, more details if you hover over it. So this just makes it much easier to get details on function when you're looking at them. You can again control and click on them, and it'll take you to the actual functions where they're being used, or in cases where the function has been defined. Next, we're going to show how to find a fix or improvement to work on. There are many ways to do this. One way is checking out GitHub issues. Other ways, you can ask the community. We have weekly conference calls, we have a forum, we have chats, or you can even test OpenEMR yourself, identify bugs, report them, and fix them, or look for areas of improvements or any projects you want to look on or work on. The community is very open to people asking for projects. If you have specific areas you'd like to work on, you can just let the community know, and they can provide some good ideas. In this tutorial, we're going to work on two examples, and we'll go into more detail on those as we work through them. So here's the GitHub issues screen, and for OpenEMR project, as you can see, there are issues here. You can look through these for problems or issues, or even report your own. This is the website for the weekly conference call. Again, it's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do note that all these links I have in this video can be found in the video summary on YouTube. And just know this weekly conference, it's open to everybody. Any questions, we're happy to talk about anything. And we also have a forum that you can also ask questions on, or ask if there are any things that need to be fixed, or guidance. And we also have several chats. We have a OpenEMR Signal chat, a OpenEMR Telegram chat, and an OpenEMR Slack chat. So we're going to start example 1 here, which is a bug fix. So we're going to add enter button support for the process UDI button when adding an implantable device. This is when you focus on that text field then the enter button should be the same as the process UDI button below it. Again, it'll become more clear as we go through the example. There is a GitHub issue for this. Here is that page, or here is the GitHub issue. Again, pretty much what I just stated. So when working on a new fix or a project, what you want to do is prepare the easy Docker development environment and Git before starting to work on it. So you're going to end up, we'll go through all these steps where you're basically tearing down the environment, getting the most recent code base, making a working branch, starting the easy Docker development environment back up, and then putting some testing data in there just to make it easier to test. So we're going to go into the command line. You go to cd home directory, and then cd git /OpenEMR /docker /development.easy. In this case, if you do have your environment running, you're going to want to stop it. Here we don't. As you can see, docker psa.a shows no dockers running. But if you do, this is what command you would do. You do the OpenEMR-cmd down command, which would remove all the dockers if you do have them. In this case, we don't need to because they're not up. So now we're going to go into the check out the master branch, git co master, and then we're going to do git fetch upstream, which is going to get the most recent official OpenEMR code base. And then we're going to do something called git pull upstream master. That will basically bring all the most recent code into your local repository. In this case, you're already up to date, but if there is code, it'll be brought in. And now what you're going to do is make your working branch from this most recent code. In this case, we're going to do git co-b hello-world-branch. So we've now created a new branch and we've gone into that branch. So now we're going to start up the easy Docker development environment by doing OpenEMR-cmd up. This will take probably from anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how fast your computer is. After it's completed, you can then check and make sure it's done by doing an OpenEMR-cmd -dl command. This is what you should see. If you do, that means that it's been installed. If you don't see this yet, that means it's still going. You need to wait longer. So now we're going to install the testing demo data, which is OpenEMR-cmd -drid. This basically brings in the standard demo data. This will take several minutes. Once that's complete, we're then going to use the random patient creator using OpenEMR-cmd -irp-10, which will create 10 random patients just to create some more demo data to make testing better. This will also take several minutes. So now, one of the more difficult things when you just start is trying to find out where the code is that you need to modify or fix. So for this example, what we're going to do is you go into OpenEMR and then you utilize, there's a couple tricks to do this, which we'll go through. So we're going to go into browser, create a new window, and then go to localhost :8300. And then we're going to log in with username admin, password pass, PASS. We're going to go up to the show the patient list. We're going to pick Phil Belford. And this is the patient summary screen for Phil Belford. Then at the top you can see, at the top you can see that issues link which we just clicked on, which shows the issues. And here's the medical devices section. If you click add, so this is where users will add medical devices. Here's a trick where you can try and find out where the location of the frame is. As you can see here, it actually pointed to the script, this add underscore edit underscore issue.php. So if we go to that file, by going go, and you can see this go to file, and then we'll click on that file there. So we've now gone to that file. So this is a script that is running at that place, is running this script in OpenEMR. Another way to also do it is to look for kind of a unique name. Like in this case, the process UDI is a pretty unique string. So we can also do a find in file and place that and search for that string. It'll find several places. Looks like there's some translation consents, but you can see there that bottom file, that add underscore edit underscore issue.php is the same script that we found via the other way of doing it via the browser. And you can even click on it, and it'll even show the line of code where it is. So that line of code 839 is pretty much the line of code that's producing that label, or that button that says process UDI. So at this point, we've located the spot in our code where we want to put the fix in. Then the next thing usually that you can do is just investigate the current code a bit with testing and Xdebug. So we're going to turn on Xdebug by clicking on that icon on the left there. And then we're going to put a breakpoint at that line number 839. Then at the top, we're going to click on that listen arrow. That essentially starts the Xdebug in VS Code, so it'll start listening. And then we want to make sure that that indicator is turned on to debug in the browser. And then we'll click again on the add for medical devices. At this point, the script breaks and now goes to VS Code at that breakpoint that you set. So this is telling us that we're definitely in the right spot. Xdebug isn't really, it's not that much more helpful for this certain fix because it's going to be, as we'll talk about in JavaScript. As you can see here, Xdebug breaks the script. That's why it wasn't done. So we have to click on that button at the top to continue. So that means the script continues to run and actually gets to complete. So in this case, since we only really use Xdebug to locate and just confirm that we're in the right spot in the code, we don't really need it anymore. So we're going to stop it by clicking on that button, and we're going to remove the breakpoint. And then in this screen, we're going to turn off the debugging and disable it. So now we're just going to kind of test. So if we click enter here, it says please enter. It's basically trying to submit the form, which is not what we want to do. It's saying please enter a title. Our goal is to have it, instead of try to submit a form, basically process the UDI. So here's an example UDI code. Again, I put this also in the video summary if you want to copy paste it from there on YouTube. So if we take this UDI, which is an example, we paste it. And if we hit enter, again, it's not working. It's saying, please enter title. It's trying to submit the whole form instead of trying to process UDI. Whereas if we click on the process UDI button, it'll process that UDI number and collect all this information. So our goal is to be able to hit enter key while in the UDI with that number, and it works just like the process UDI button. So the next thing we're going to do is make the code change to fix this. One thing else I should have mentioned is that when we're working in OpenEMR, it's always good to open up this console just for debugging purposes. These are the code. I've already kind of gone through and figured out the code we need to add, but these are the code elements that we're going to use to fix the bug. As you can see, this is mostly JavaScript changes in that page. One's going to be that JavaScript function, and then a couple other elements that we have to put in there to make everything work. So in VS Code, we're just going to click on that process UDI function on that line. Then it brings us to, there's the process UDI function. So what we want to do is put our new JavaScript function on top of that or above that. So we're going to get that JavaScript function that we have here. We're just going to, this is the primary part of the fix. So we're going to copy that. Into the spot. And the goal of this JavaScript function is that when you hit enter, it's going to go into this function. So if someone hits enter from, if they have a code there, hit enter, it goes into this function. It'll stop the form from submitting like it was doing. It'll then run the function we want it to run, which is this process UDI function. And then it returns false just to stop it from, again, submitting the form. So now we're going to go back down to the button and add a couple more elements to make everything work. So at the input where you type in, this is sort of the element where a user will type in the code. This is where we need to listen for that enter button. So we're going to put this within the HTML, we're going to put this on key down code. So we're going to put it right here within the HTML attributes and paste it here. So this means that if somebody is in this text field and they hit the enter key, or actually they hit any key and they let the key go, it's going to run that process UDI enter function. So the next element we have to add just to make things work is we have to add an ID to an HTML attribute in the process button. So we'll just paste it here. And this is just needed for the for it to work with the original functions. So at this point, we're now going to save the script. So then the next step is to test your code, make sure it's working. In this case, we don't need to do Xdebug because it's just not really necessary because we're mostly doing JavaScript development. So again, we're going to go into the issues screen here for medical devices, click add, and we're just going to click here. And now watch what happens when we hit enter. So you hit the enter key. Now it's going to just show UDI field is missing. It's not trying to submit the form. It's actually doing the correct thing, which is trying to process a UDI, but it's empty. So it's telling us that we need to put one in there. So we'll copy the UDI code that we have as an example. Hit enter and then it works. So at this point it's testing to work. So again, we just put the code in, hit the enter key, and then it'll do what we want it to do rather than trying to submit the form. Now if we go to title and we click enter from the title, then it does what it's supposed to do. It submits the form. And then you can see here you have your new element. What I also like to do is when I do something like this, I also want to make sure the original functionality works. So if we just click the process UDI button, it'll say, again, the UDI field is missing. And if we put the code in and click the process UDI button, it'll then show the elements, just like it used to work. We just want to make sure we didn't break anything that was previously working. Then you click save, and then it'll save the medical device. So the next thing that we can do now that we have a fix is we can make a commit from the code change and then create a pull request. So we're going to go into the command line. And here we're just going to do a git space diff. That command will basically just show your code changes. So as you can see here, there you can see how it's showing the new function and the code changes that you made. Just a nice way to make sure that what you've done makes sense. Now we're going to make the commit. So git ci-a-m, and then we're going to put a comment for the commit within quotations. And then what we're going to do is just do a quick check where we do a git space lf. So this just kind of shows all your commits. And as you can see, here's the commit that you just created. So we can now push this commit to your repository, your GitHub, your OpenEMR Git repository on GitHub by doing git push origin and then the branch, the hello world branch name. So this will then push your code to your public repository on GitHub. Then on GitHub, at the top left icon, you can click on that. And what you want to do is go to the main OpenEMR /OpenEMR repository. And usually at the top left, it'll show you if you have a commit that you can compare and pull. And as you can see, it finds that commit that you pushed to your public repository. So you do compare and pull requests for that commit. And what I'll usually do when there's an issue already attached to it, which there is I'll just type in fixes, and then a number assigned, and then the number of the issue. So you can go back to that issue, the original issue that explained the bug, and just copy that number, that 5947. And again, paste that here. And this is nice because it'll link the pull request to the issue, so you don't have to do much explanation. And again, you can scroll down and see your changes that you have. There's our function and the code base changes that we made for our fix. So you can review it before clicking on the create pull request button, which you can then do, which will then submit your pull request. So at this point, the OpenEMR community can see this, review it, and bring it into the main code base when they feel it's ready. So example 2 is going to be to fix the procedure order item in the encounter menu, where we're going to move it from the administrative item into its own item called orders. This issue is also listed on GitHub at this page. And again, here is the GitHub issue for this bug. So as before, we're going to prepare the easy Docker development environment in Git before starting to work on this new bug fix. So we're going to go through all these elements where we tear down the environment, update to the most recent master code base, create a working branch, start the OpenEMR easy Docker development environment, and then put some tested data in the environment to make it easier for testing. So the first thing we're going to do is tear down the current environment by doing OpenEMR -cmd space down. This is going to essentially remove all the easy development environment Dockers, which we had started in the first example. Then we're going to check out the master with git co master, which we'll check out into the master branch. Then we're going to git -fetch -upstream, which is going to collect all the most recent code from the official OpenEMR GitHub repository. And then we're going to bring in the most recent code into your current master branch by doing git pull upstream master. This will essentially bring all the commits from the official code base into your into your local repository. So you can do git space lf, which will show all the commits, and as you can see here, you are updated because it shows that of that most recent commit from upstream master. So now we're going to create a working branch from this most recent code base by doing git co-b hello world branch 2. This will basically create that new branch and then go into that new branch. And now we're going to restart the easy Docker development environment by doing OpenEMR-cmd space up. And this will take, again, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. So to check if it's complete, you can do an OpenEMR-cmd space dl command. And when it is complete, then you can do this command, the OpenEMR-cmd space drid command, which will basically install the demo data. This will take several minutes. After that's complete, then you can then do the OpenEMR-cmd irp10 command, which will then install 10 random patients, which will also take several minutes. So now we're going to find the code that we want to modify. So we'll make a new window and go into localhost :A300 to get to OpenEMR. We'll use admin for the username, password pass. We're going to bring in those web developer tools so you can see that console at the bottom for debugging purposes. Then we're going to search the patient list and go to Phil Belford, which will bring up the patient summary screen for him. And at the top you can see that select encounter. We'll select that encounter and you can see this menu at the top, and that's where you have this procedure order. So that menu is what we're going to modify. So in this case, to look for the script, we're going to right click here, go to this frame and view frame info, and this will give the script that's running this script. And again, this sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending where you are in the code base. It's one of the strategies to find the script. So again, we'll go to the file here with VS Code. So now we're in the script that shows that menu. And this is actually the spot where the menu is shown, where you can see this twig render. This is actually where it renders the menu. So now we're going to investigate the current code a bit with testing and using Xdebug. So we're going to start up Xdebug by clicking on the Run and Debug icon there. And then we're going to click on that listen arrow, which then turns on the Xdebug server in VS Code. Then we're going to put a breakpoint here at line 620. And then we're going to turn on the debug and that indicator in the Firefox browser. So then we're going to close that encounter screen, and now we're going to click on the encounter link again, and as you can see, it goes to the breakpoint in Visual Studio Code. So the script has essentially been stopped at this point. And now now you can start hovering over variables to see what's going on. So if we hover over this menu variable, we can see that this stands for has some data in there, a menu array. And you can see there's this administrative clinical questionnaire from the menu. And you can actually even see where the procedure order menu item is in that array. And you can see here the script has been stopped. It's actually been paused because VS Code is breakpoint. So if you have to click on this continue button for the script to keep running. So now if you go back, you can see the script is run through. And what's important about these menu items is that they can actually be configured in the admin forms form administration screen. You can see here there's categories for each of these forms. So in this case, the procedure order form currently has the category administrative, but we can change that to orders. And then we'll save this at the top. Close the screen. Let's close the encounter screen again, and then we'll open again by clicking on the open encounter link. As you can see here, the breakpoint again stopped the script. And if you go to the, again, hover over menu, it'll show you the items in that array, and you can see there's now an orders item there that has the progress order. Again, this is all done because of Xdebug. You can see all these variables. So we're going to continue the script by clicking on that button, and now the script's complete, and you can see here there's now a orders with the procedure order item. So this is what we're trying to do. This is how we're going to fix this, is by creating that new menu. Now, in order to do this, we're going to have to do it in the database. So what we're going to do now is we're going to kind of revert our changes here to put them back to where they were. So we're going to basically change that orders category back to administrative. Since changing this would only change it in the current OpenEMR instance, our goal is to change it in all OpenEMR's instances when they install by making changes to the database file. So again, here you can see we have the breakpoint, so it now is showing that the procedure order has gone back to where it was before because we reverted it. Again, we'll continue it so the script finishes running. And there it is back at the original place. So again, this is something that's changed in the database. So just to give you an idea of what I mean by that, we'll go to localhost :8310, which will go to the PHP MyAdmin for the database that you have. Username is root, password is root. We'll go to the database's OpenEMR. And then we're going to scroll down to the registry table. And this is the table that holds the information for the forms, including the category. So you can see here, this is the table structure. There's a directory in there. There's something called category. Then the name is what holds the actual name. So again, if we look at the items, we can see here, if you scroll down, and you can see there is the procedure order item with the data to the right of it. So that you have a directory that's procedure order. And then you can see there's the category, which is set as administrative. So our goal is to modify OpenEMR's code in the database specific scripts that set up the OpenEMR database to fix that. So now we're going to make that change by doing that. Again, the goal is to change the scripts that create the OpenEMR database when you install OpenEMR or when you upgrade OpenEMR. So now we're just going to clean things up a bit, like logging out of PHP MyAdmin, logging out of OpenEMR. And now we're going to go to the script that's called database.sql. This is the main database file for OpenEMR for when installing. And you can see it's a lot of lines, but at line 7801, there's where it actually creates the registry table. So this is that registry table that we create. And below that are actually the data that it puts into the registry table. So you can see here there's an item for procedure order. So we're going to change that from administrative to orders. So what this will do is that when you install OpenEMR, it will now install this data, which will now be orders instead of administrative for the menu item, because you changed the category. And we'll save it. So the next thing we need to do is for upgraders, people that are upgrading OpenEMR from another version. So we're going to go to the script called 7_0, again, ._0, that file right there that we click on. Long name, but again, it's basically for people that are upgrading. And you can see here there's sort of these funny pieces of code. And here's the code that we're going to put in to basically fix this for people that are upgrading from a prior OpenEMR version to the most recent. And what this is doing is it's using a SQL statement. It's basically saying we're going to update that registry table where the directory is equal to procedure order and the category is equal to administrative. And if that's the case, then we're going to change the category to orders. So that's a way to change that item so that it now has orders. And this is just sort of something that's some fancy stuff that's done that only works for certain upgrading instances that you really don't need to worry about at this point. So now we've basically put the changes in that are going to work for installers and upgraders. So now what we need to do is ensure the code is working properly with testing and Xdebug. So in order to do this in OpenEMR, we have to actually reinstall OpenEMR so that that new database file is used. So in order to do that, all we really need to do is do that OpenEMR-cmd -drid, which is installing demo data. Now what this does is it reinstalls OpenEMR, so that will actually then also use those changes that you put into the database.sql file. So if you make database changes in those files, that you need to do this to test it. Again, this takes several minutes to run. And when it's complete, you can go back to the OpenEMR page. You're going to want to refresh this page because it's been reinstalled. And then you're going to use username admin, password pass. You're going to open up the patient finder go to Phil Belford. Go up to the select encounter and select that encounter. And again, here the breakpoint's still here, so you can see here where with Xdebug you can see that there's now that orders item where the procedure order is in it. Again, the script is paused, so we need to click on continue to make sure the script completes running. So as you can see here, procedure order is not administrative anymore. It's now under that new title orders. So this confirms that the fix is working. So now we're going to clean things up. You generally want to stop Xdebug, so you'll put this indicator to disable in Firefox, and then you'll go into VS Code and turn it off. Click on that stop button to stop Xdebug. Remove the breakpoint, and then stop the debug mode. So now we're going to commit the code change and create a pull request, which is a way to get the code reviewed by the OpenEMR community and to get the code into the official code base. So we're going to go into the terminal. And we're going to make the commit, get ci-a-m with a code commit comments within quotations. To this point, we've made the commit. You can even do this git space LG button, which is a nice way to look at commits and the changes in the commits. So you can see here's the commit that we just created. And you can see it even shows the changes in green. You can see the new changes, and then below that you can see other in red and green the other changes below that. So now we're going to push the commit to your GitHub repository. We're going to do git push origin, then we're going to do the hello world branch 2. So this will essentially push your branch into the public domain to your personal GitHub repository. So now you can go with the web browser, go to your GitHub, click on that top left icon, and you can see here, usually you'll click on OpenEMR /OpenEMR, and usually at the top you will see the commit, but this is not always the case like it was in example 1, you remember. This time you can't do that, but there's still a way to make pull requests even if it doesn't show up. So in order to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to that top left icon. You're going to go to your personal repository. In this case, it's machine OpenEMR, but if you want to go to your personal repository, and you can see there's a branches link there at the top. So you're going to click on that, and then you're going to see how you can see your branches, and you're going to see your branch there, which I'm showing here, which is the hello world branch 2. If you go to the right of that, you can see this new pull request. So you can click on that new pull request, and this will basically make a pull request. As you can see here, the base repository is OpenEMR, and it's master. So you're making a pull request to the official OpenEMR GitHub repository. So again, you'll do the same strategy. You'll do fixes with the number of the issue that you're fixing. So in this case, it's 5948. So this links the fix that you're fixing with the pull request that you're submitting. And again, you can scroll down and see the changes that you made in your pull requests. You can see that coincide with what you've done, and then you can create the click on the create pull request button to submit the pull request. So at this point, it's now been submitted. So now the OpenEMR community can look at it, review it, and bring it into the code base when it's ready. And that is the end of the tutorial.